Hey, it's your host Dan once again, and I have this remote control here. This opens my garage door at home, and I keep it in the car. Sometimes I kind of fumble for it or gets, jostled around. In previous cars, I've found a spot where I could double side tape it and stick it up, but I really don't have that option in this car. And other cars, I've kind of just integrated it into the vehicle with a separate button. So that's going to be today's project. I'm going to integrate this remote control into the car to open the garage door here at home, similar to like a home link that you'd find in most cars. And I want to do it with three things in mind. Number one, I want it to be super simple to be able to use to operate the garage door. Two, I want it to be secure so nobody can just get in my car and hit it and the garage door open. And also three, I want to make this look like factory. So that's today's project. I'm going to integrate the remote into the car. So I bought these three parts here on eBay. $20 shipped to the door, which is pretty good deal for this day and age. And these are 15-year-old parts. These are used. They came off of a 2006. It's the bezel here. This is a 2-hole bezel. I only have a 1-hole bezel currently in my car. I've got a switch blank here, but I don't foresee myself having to use this. But the important guy here I got is the switch. This is a door lock switch out of a 2006. And I'm going to use it like as a momentary switch in the new 2-hole plate, and it'll go like so. And the other slot is where the traction control goes. Since I'm using a door lock switch to be like the slave button for my remote control, I'm going to need a plug to go in here, but I don't have one. My car's an 04 and it doesn't even have this plug in the car. So I'm going to have to make my own plug. And for all intents and purposes of this video, let's just call this pin 1 up here in the top left, 2, 3, 4, and pin 5. I already played around with a meter because I'm kind of lazy and I don't want to look up the diagram, and it's almost quicker for me to use the meter. And between 4 and 5 I got 25 ohms, which leads me to believe that that's for the illumination circuit. Now pin 1 and pin 2, it's like normally closed. When the switch isn't even depressed, pin 1 and pin 2 are connected together at all times. When you press on the switch, pin 1 and pin 2 aren't connected anymore, except now pin 1 and pin 3 are connected together. So if this was like a relay, this would be kind of like your 30, your 87A, and your 87. I'm just going to use pin 1 and pin 3. This way I have like a momentary contact between those two pins. So the next step is to make my own custom plug for this. And normally the connector would disconnect here. All I've got some terminals that are going to kind of suffice. These are about 1/8 inch. It's like for a car stereo speaker. The negative terminal would be that really skinny one. That's really what these are for. And it's got the plastic insulator on it. I just took it and pulled it off of 4 of those. I'm going to use these 4, but I don't want to have to disconnect it at these pins and then get it mixed up. I still need to be able to have some kind of plug. I looked through my scrap bin and I found this 4-wire plug with a disconnect on it. I think this was from like some Chismo amp or something like that. So I'm going to use this. One end of this is going to get wired into the switch, and it'll give me a disconnect, and then the other end will be wired into the car. So I'm just going to crimp a connector in each end for now. With the ends crimped on, let's just take a little heat shrink. there we go. The ends now have some heat shrink on them, so they got some insulation and protection from touching against each other or another terminal. Next up, now that I've got all the heat shrinky dinkied, I am using non-standard colors here, so I got to keep in mind of how I'm going to wire this. It's probably best to just write it down. Let's see, I've got green here and a green white. I'm going to make the green pin 1. Almost like that would be like almost like a ground, so to speak. I can get that connector on there. It's giving me a little business. Just want to be tough. Up, there you go. Okay. Up, there we go. It just slid in there. Okay, my green white. This I want on pin 3. The green white will be like my output signal from the switch. Just taking my time. I don't want to force it. I don't want to bend the terminal. Trying to get it on there. I just want to wiggle it on there and get on there. Best we can get it. There we go. She went. She's going for it. Okay. Next is going to be for illumination. I got gray and gray white. Okay, so let's use the gray up here in the top corner. And last but not least, our bottom one. Okay, everything looks good here. It all passes the wiggle test. Wiggle, wiggle, womp. Wiggle, wiggle, womp. Okay, so this way now, if I go to disconnect that trim plate, I don't have to remove these and remember where they go and put them back in like I just did, because that would be kind of a pain. I can just disconnect right here at this plug, and then I'll use the ends of this to wire into the vehicle. I just want to test it and make sure real quick. I'm holding a 12-volt battery onto the 2 gray leads. There we go. The illumination works, so there'll be no surprises there. So I'll double check the button just one more time, just to make sure. You never know. Everything is, I'm pretty sure, is fine, but you know, it's a just in case. We don't want any surprises. So now when I push the button, the meter should go to 0 ohms. Just about. Let off. So I have like a momentary push button switch. Okay, you know that works. Could probably put a little tape here on these wires. Make it a little nice and neater. Okay, there we go. I'm pretty much done with the switch. I've got to disconnect. I know what my wires do, and I know where they're gonna go. I'll give you a quick rundown of the whole wiring for this circuit, because the switch is only half of the equation. There's also a relay, a little bit of extra wiring, and the way I have it run into the remote control. So I have a ground here, which will go to chassis ground, and also my brown wire is accessory voltage. The ground is split under this tape, so I have one of the grounds going over to the push button switch wires, These will connect to the 2 green wires. Really doesn't matter which way which way they go, but when you push the switch, the ground's going to return, and it's going to come down the black white wire, which goes over to my pin 85 on the relay. And if there's battery voltage on pin 86 at the same time, meaning your key's turned on, the relay is going to energize. And when it does, I also have accessory jumpered over to pin 30. Pin 30 and 87 are normally open, but when the relay energizes, these are normally closed. So it connects these 2 wires together, meaning when the relay turns on, I now have battery voltage coming out on the pink wire. That pink wire comes over here, it changes over to red, and it goes into the remote control right onto the board, onto the positive terminal. There's ground present at all times on this, and I also have a little doodad on the remote to keep the button pressed. So real simply, I press the button here, the little lock switch sends ground over to the relay turns on, it supplies 12 volt power over to the remote control. The button's already being pressed, so the remote control turns on, activates my garage door, and the garage door opens and closes. Okay, so I have my console trim plate removed out of the vehicle, and right here where the snap plate is, this just snaps in from underneath and it's going to lift off. Okay, now that I've reversed that, I should be able to snap the cover back on and make sure that these 2 guys are pulled in, snapped in place. Well, I want to have switches up front, but no big deal. See, as you can see, the underside of the console itself, that's what's holding the switch in place. And the top part with the it's just a bezel to cover it up. There's also a 4-hole bezel out there. If I wanted to, I could put 2 more switches in, but I'm not going to go that crazy for now. I think this should work just fine. And I can kind of just tuck that up underneath, and I've got a nice disconnect here for the switch once this end gets wired into the vehicle. I had to take it apart again. The traction control switch, it's normally in this front spot, the front left. When you move it to the back, there's a little tab on the switch, and normally that's in the rear. The back slot has one towards the front, so when you put it in the back, it doesn't seat down 100% square. It's crooked just a little bit. So I'm just going to get out the Dremel and just put a little quick notch in there, so that way this is going to sit down flush, so I can move it backwards. I really wasn't aware the 2006 bezel was reversed like this, but oh well, it's going to work. Okay, let's try again. See how the TC switch fits in there. Yep, there we go. Now it's square. That little notch just did the trick. Cool. Those are in there real nice now. That's what I needed. Just that little notch. I should have saw that from the get-go. But oh well. Inside the vehicle now, I'm just hooking up some of the wiring. The 2 gray wires which come off of my plug, which will jump over to the traction control plug for the illumination. I soldered them here. Just got to tape them up. I like the solder versus using things like T-taps. It's a much better connection. No possibles with intermittence. While I'm in the process of doing my little garage door opener dealy, I got another mod done. And this one, I farmed it out. I had somebody else do it. I got the MP3 mod for the radio. Bondman Customs, Bohnman Customs. Check them out. It's got a lot of GTO GASS, those kind of cars. A lot of performance parts for him. Met him in person. He's a really nice guy, and his price was more than reasonable, so I decided to just have him do it. And while I've got this apart, I'm going to run that cable, and I'm going to put my little MP3 jack right here in the center console right next to the power outlet. Okay, I'm finished with mounting the MP3. I went below the 12 volt outlet, a little more room from behind than off to the right of it. That's probably where about the factory would have put it. So here's the final on the wiring here down below the switches. My relay, I just wire tied that onto the airbag wiring. I've got my traction control ready to go. This plug ready to plug in to the other switch. Just going to be plug, plug, plug. Real easy in this section. Now down low, right by the corner of the, I don't have the smoker's package in here, so it's just like a little cubby pocket. See that little white plug down there in the background? I guess that's what it would plug into. It's just got spade terminals on it. I've already tested it. The upper left terminal, that's 12 volts when you turn the key on. Upper right terminal is ground, and the one on the bottom is illumination. So that's what I'm going to plug into for power. So right there you can see where I tapped it into the white plug. Got the brown and black wire coming out of it. Okay, I got the console trim all back in place. The illumination on this looks really nice. And when I push it, I hear that click from my relay. Okay, I'm for the most part done. I'm just doing a final test here. Number one, it just doesn't work if you just get in the car and push it. That's my number two. I wanted it to be secure. So you have to have the key on and flip it on. And I've got the remote over here just for testing purposes. I have wire ties around it with a couple bumpers that's pressing the buttons down. So that's my trick around getting it to activate. So when I press this button right now, my garage door should open. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, put it back down. Alright, cool, it works. So all I got to do now is just I think I'm just going to tuck the remote up under the edge of the console just in case I ever have to access it in the future, and I'll be complete. But that's how I got this done. Hope you learned something today. Hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, thanks for watching.